Hey y'all, this is Enda Brennan here with another video about Irish mythology. In this video I'm going to talk about the gods and goddesses that the Irish believed lived in the other world, as well as the Daoine Sídhe that interact directly with humans. The Celts believed the other world, which they also called Tír na nÓg, was occupied by beautiful supernatural beings who were a race that had once occupied Ireland but were driven underneath the hills that dot the countryside. The word Tír na nÓg means the land of eternal youth, and they called their pantheon of gods the Tuatha de Danann, which means the tribe of Danann, who is one of the oldest goddesses of Ireland. The Celts believe the otherworld exists parallel to humans and can be accessed at certain times of day and year, particularly sunrise and sunset, Samhain, which is Halloween, and Belchan, which is May 1st. As I said in my last video, the Celts believed you could access the land of Tír na nÓg through fairy rings, also by a hawthorn tree, which was a sign of a gateway to the other world, or from a will-o'-the-wisp, which is also called a fairy light, or Cína na Madra Rua, the fire of the red fox. Now, the gods and goddesses of Ireland don't really interact directly with humans, but there are people called the Daoine Sídhe, which means the people of the Sídhe, which are what the Irish called the hills that they found all over their countryside. The Daoine Sídhe do interact directly with humans, and they're also what's known as faeries. Now, the Daoine Sídhe, or the Daoine Sídhe, the good people as they're sometimes called, aren't usually good, but I'm going to start off with a few that are. This is the Gila Dow. He is from Scotland. His name means the dark man, and he's a woodland spirit who helps children who are lost in the bogs, the mountains, or the forest get back home. Now, this is a puka. It is a shapeshifter. It can turn into any form, though it typically chooses animals, and it can help you out on a journey. It can steer you out of harm's way. Next we have Na Brune, which is another figure from Scotland and northern England. These were little goblin-type creatures that were believed to be the spirits of dead servants who clean your house. But like all fairies, they are very easily offended, and if you anger them, they might flip out and burn your entire house down. You might have actually heard of these. They're called brownies in modern times. Another interesting thing about brownies is if you give them an article of clothing, they're released from their captivity in your house. Dobby from Harry Potter and all the house elves are actually based on brownies. Next we have An Murach, which is Irish for mermaid, and these are beautiful sea creatures who often fall in love with human men. And if you steal their red caps, you can steal their love. The red cap is what enables the Murach to travel between deep sea and land. In Scotland, actually, mermaids are half seal, half woman. They have seal skin, and then they can take off their skin and walk upon land. And if you steal their skin, then you can keep their love. Next up we have An Siomhra, which is a changeling. They are left in place of human babies and grow up as humans. They're not really evil or good, they're just kind of lost. Now I'm going to talk about some members of the Daoine Sídhe that aren't so good. This is one you're probably familiar with. It's a leprechaun. Now, leprechauns, if they're captured, can grant you 3 wishes, but you have to be really careful when you wish from a leprechaun. Like if you wish for a lot of money, they might give you a bunch of gold that crushes you to death. Now, this funny looking guy is a clorachan, which is a type of leprechaun that haunts brew houses and wine cellars, distilleries, pubs, pretty much anywhere that alcohol is made and served. And he can ruin a business by drinking up all the stocks. So if somebody's pub wasn't doing too well, it might be haunted by a clorachan. Now this scary guy is the Far Jarrig, which means the red man, and he's the one who exchanges human babies for siomhras, and he also causes nightmares and can make livestock sick or even kill them. This one's a pretty funny one. His name is Alep Luachra, which means the joint eater, and he basically turns into a newt and will crawl into your mouth and into your belly and eat half of what you've been eating. Okay, now we're gonna get a little bit spooky and talk about some Irish phantoms. This is the Cat Sídhe, which is actually from Scotland, and it appears as a phantom that appears as a black cat with a white marking on its chest, and it can steal the human soul. So at Scottish wakes, you make a bunch of noise, you burn catnip, you dance, you wrestle, you do everything you can to distract the cat so it doesn't steal the soul of the person who has died. You also leave a bowl of milk at Samhain out at your doorstep for the Cat Sídhe so it doesn't curse you for the rest of the year. This is an fua, which is Irish for just the hatred. It's kind of like a bogart. It is a malevolent spirit that can take any form, but it usually appears as a really creepy water spirit that can drag men down to the bottom of the sea. Now, this is one you've definitely heard of. She is the Banshee, which just means the fairy woman. She's terrifying. If you hear her scream on the moors at night, you're probably gonna die. This is another figure that heralds death. He's called the Dulachan, and basically he rides a carriage or has a horse, and he has a whip made of human bones. And if you see him, yeah, that's it. Now, the one thing the Dinawaha do have in common is if you follow any of them into the fairy world, they'll spirit you away for thousands of years. You'll think it's only been 10 years in human time, but really it's been 100. Well, that's it for the Daoine Sídhe. I hope you enjoyed this video, and next up I have a video coming about one of the greatest Irish heroes of all time, Cuchulainn.